Honorable ladies and gentlemen, my name is Muhammad Bashar Muhammad. I am the Undersecretary of Planning, Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, presenting this VNR on behalf of the government of Sudan. I am very much privileged to present to you today the Sudanese VNR for the year 2025. This VNR is prepared after wide consultation with different entities and organizations. Sudan's VNR 2025 is intended to review progress and has been made, the progress that has been made in the implementation of the Agenda 2030 for the period 2020-2024. During the first 3 years of the period under review, 2020-2022, some progress was made, mainly in the areas of poverty reduction, economic growth, general education, health, electricity coverage, gender equality, and domestic resource mobilization. Following are some graphs showing the magnitude and trend of the achieved progress. On the 15th of April 2023, the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, waged wide scale of attacks on the army, civilians, towns, and villages. These attacks resulted in a massive destruction of all signs of life in Sudan. The conflict has led to the world's largest displacement, with 25% of the population forcibly displaced, a figure for above 12 million people. All economic activities have been disrupted. Major agricultural schemes were attacked and farmers were forced to abandon their lands. About 66% of factories were damaged. 49% of bank branches were looted. All markets in the capital city, Khartoum, were destroyed and burned to the ground. Unemployment rate surged from 20% in the year 2020 to 47% in the year 2024. 30% of health facilities have been destroyed. Central medical supplies stores were looted. Vaccine chains of cooling system were destroyed. Over 90% of school-aged children are out of schools for 2 years. Water stations and treatment plants, electricity generation, distribution, and transmission facilities were damaged by drones. Use of weapons and explosives in residential areas and destruction of specialized laboratories have increased toxic waste and polluted water and a wide spread of air pollution. All museums have been destroyed and looted. It is evident from the above that these attacks stalled all the progress made towards achieving the SDGs and in fact erased any gains achieved in the previous years. The efforts were divided between 4 main entities in a coordinated manner. Number 1, the federal government. The federal government reclaimed the public system, enabled Sudan to restore economic activity and stability. Agricultural inputs were provided, which led to a substantial increase in output, especially food production. Resumption of the provision of basic services, banking systems, and electronic payments were restored. Schools were reopened, students were enrolled, including IDPs students, provision of substantial life-saving drugs, facilitation of IDP returnees. At the state level, state governments took adaptive measures to increase their resources to avail basic services to the IDPs and act as alternative hubs for business and economic activities evacuated from the capital city of Khartoum and resettled in the states. The civil society organization initiated many efforts to absorb and minimize the conflict shocks. The Emergency Response Room, which is a youth-driven initiative, and Takaya, a common kitchen for making and distributing free meals, are prominent community-driven approaches. They provide lifeline for hundreds of thousands of people who are under siege of the conflict in war zone and for IDPs. They provide food, medicine, water, assist victims of sexual violence, and help in safe evacuation of the war zones. The development partners provided substantial humanitarian assistance which saved lives of millions of people who were directly affected by the conflict. The government is working on finalizing a post-conflict economic vision for reconstruction, which will be based on the SDGs framework. The vision is based on immediate phase for humanitarian recovery and a medium to long-term phase for reconstruction and rebuilding of the national economy. The overarching objectives are: 1, to stabilize the economy, rebuild the damaged infrastructure, and invest in the provision of basic services, create employment opportunities, and encourage private sector investment, promote and enhance good governance, and address issues of environment and climate change. It is clear this vision will put the SDGs back on track. The destruction of the economic base, namely the damage of the private sector, has limited sizable tax revenue increases. However, Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning initiated a serious PFM reform efforts to boost domestic resources. Revenues has already started to increase in the year 2024. The government do, however, improve the enabling environment for the private sector. The executive procedures for the PPP law was approved in February 2025, and the new investment law for 2024 was also approved following wide scale of consultations. In conclusion, despite the wide destruction and severe negative impacts of the conflict on the country, Sudan is firmly committed to bring back the SDGs on track. Given the scale and magnitude of the destruction, the recovery and reconstruction definitely require large amounts of resources that are beyond the capacity of the Sudanese economy. Therefore, immense assistance of humanitarian and external financing, together with technical assistance, are perceived critically required. Sudan is also looking forward to the international community to lift the suspension on the HIPEX process that started in the year 2021 to enable the mobilization of external concessional resources for the benefit of the SDGs. Thank you so much.